Today could be the day that you come across one of the best business podcasts you have ever listened to. So thank you for stumbling across the Next Advisory podcast. That is the What's Next podcast with Luke Hemmings and Philip Smith. A brand new intro for you there, right off the cuff. And might have to work on that one again, mate. There's probably missed a couple of beats there, but
that's good.
A bit of waltzing Matilda to take us in as well.
Happy days.
Today we're going to be talking about our mates across the ditch.
Yeah, everybody's going there at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know what the outflow is, if we've actually got any true data.
You went and came back.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I visited and then came back, mate.
Some clients are heading over there and not coming back. How's the arena?
Good, which is sad, isn't it?
It is.
Because we need the Vivs of the world to be here. But
dude, the brain drain is real.
Yeah. But luckily they're doing New Zealand business internationally, so New Zealand may get some benefits from that.
So the podcast is doing business. If you're a New Zealand business and wanting to expand to go to Australia, this comes up a lot, and It's natural. And business owners quite rightly think, hey, it's Australia. We can fly there, jump off the plane, sink some piss, go and have something to eat, maybe go on the punt, and then fly back home.
The surf club.
Happy days. And it's the same with business. We fly over there, open up our doors, do whatever it is, sell whatever it is you sell, make some profit. Happy days. We carry on.
But you're here to tell me that that's not how it works.
No.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's some hooks, and it's unfortunate the amount of times that you see people that go over there and think, oh, I'll go and start trading in Australia, and then go too far down the path, and then there's actually a whole heap of stuff that needs to be unwound or revisited. And the biggest risk with trading in Australia is double taxation.
And look, people don't even like paying tax once, let alone twice.
No, so
whether by uniform or maybe face, I don't know, but they didn't show much interest in me and my mate when we were watching them.
Well, it's because you guys were eating calamari, and they thought, well, you guys...
Couple of dickheads, yeah.
First it's the calamari, next it's the dolphin.
Yeah. But then when the keepers walked around, you could see that they realised, oh, here they come. Could we be on for a little snack here?
Yeah.
But the keepers carried on, but they had names and stuff. But yeah, anyway, that was the insight to my SeaWorld trip, mate. But
no, and I'm sure there's more insights, but we'll save that for another pod.
Yeah.
Happy days on We Rumble. Yeah, I think... that you saw at the shop, you bought one for Taz, didn't you?
Yeah, no, for a t-shirt instead.
Oh, a t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. So I sell my seal dolls into Australia from New Zealand, and I live in Auckland.
Yeah.
By the water and go paddling around.
You're a smart man, so you would have ordered them from Alibaba in China, in bulk, got them sent to your 3PL in the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Because that's where SeaWorld is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you'd get your
bolts, and I said, look, I'll come and pick them up. So then my mate, he's actually a scaffolder in the GC.
On
the weekend when he's not getting his tattoos done, he goes and picks up my faulty seals.
Yeah.
But he works for me. Is that
that's a bloody good question, mate. If you get your scaff man as an employee, we're going to have a yarn.
Okay.
Because getting an employee is going to potentially trip you up into paying some income tax.
So what I'm hearing here is like your employees, or maybe even some people on the ground, or maybe even some warehousing.
Yeah, or warehousing if it's not yours, 3PL. Yeah, all good. So as long as it's on like an agency type thing, and you're not in there doing it's running remotely. If you've got people on the ground, or if you're over there doing some mahi, you better watch out. Now we're talking here about old income tax. So sales from selling the seals.
Mm-hmm.
less your direct expenses and your overheads is going to equal your profit, as we all know. If you run it remotely, that profit is not going to be taxed in Australia. It will only be taxed in New Zealand.
Brilliant.
So it's not tax-free. We pay tax in New Zealand because we're responsible corporate citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
And my seals are sustainable, by the way, too.
Bloody oath they are.
They're made from recyclable grass.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, what, cash it?
Yeah. that is part of it, yeah.
The thing we haven't talked about, GST.
Yeah.
The Australian grab, snatch and take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a goodie.
You not heard that before?
Nah.
Real?
Yeah, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Grab, snatch, and take.
Yeah,
Never heard
GST.
that. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, there we go. Hey, we learn something every day, 8 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy days.
Brilliant.
If you're trading in Australia, selling stuff to Australia, and you're over their GST registration threshold, you will be liable for GST. So, if you're selling 10,000 of these things for $1, 10,000 bucks under their threshold, but you're an entrepreneurial man, you know that you'll be able to fleece these things over in Perth because they've probably got something with some more seals.
Yep.
And next minute you're selling 100,000 of them. Now I reckon they'll probably go down well in Hobart too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about diversifying into Crocs as well, actually, but haven't got to that yet.
Yeah, get on the phone to what's that? Australia Zoo, the Irwins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon you could do a partnership.
Bindi and the crew.
That's the one. At 200,000, you'd be over the Australian GST threshold.
What is the threshold?
I think it's 75 Australian.
Yeah, 75. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Australian dollars.
Yeah. So I'm well over the
75,000.
threshold. So do
Well
I have to start paying GST in Australia as well?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Truth, mate.
That is starting to cut into my seal margin
Yeah.
because I didn't add any GST on because I didn't think about this from the start. I just thought I might be a small time seal dealer.
It's a seal dealer.
But now I'm dealing with the big seals.
Yeah, geez. Now, yeah, my word. How much is their GST? 10.
10? Is it?
10%.
Okay.
But they've got exclusions for their GST. I wonder if no, I was going to say, would be exempt. But I imagine we're talking soft toys here that are made from recyclable grass.
Yeah.
We'll probably still have GST.
Okay, yeah, it is 10% by the looks, so... Okay.
But on the flip side, you'd be able to claim the Australian GST on your Australian expenses that you happen to pay.
Oh, yeah.
At this stage, get an Australian accountant to do that compliance stuff.
Okay.
Because us Kiwis, we're good at Kiwi tax stuff, but when it comes to Australian stuff, I'm thick as shit. I've got no idea.
Yeah,
It's
very different.
Outside my lane.
Yeah.
Outside my little sandpit, my sandbox.
I guess it's like going to the physio and asking him to sort your cancer out. You know, you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know,
you're
maybe
right.
that's the first analogy that came to my mind.
Yeah.
But often people do think,
Yeah.
oh, you're an accountant, don't you know the tax rules of every single country? And
Yes.
you're like, no.
No.
I don't.
And luckily, we've got some people in Australia that we refer clients to in a number of different states. So happy to point people in the right direction so that their Australian compliance is taken care of.
Brilliant.
And I believe it's called a BAS return, business activity statement. That's filed quarterly.
Quarterly BAS return.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Sexy.
And it's all electronic. And if you're using, here we go, plug, Craig, you'll be stoked, Xero.
Yeah.
There's Australian Xero.
Is
Would
there?
you believe it or not?
Wow.
And that'll do your GST returns, your BAS returns, I reckon.
Makes sense because they were trying to scale internationally. So we'll just check their share price while we're at it too. And unfortunately, they're at $86.47. And if you bought at the top,
$86.
You were buying
That's
it.
Australian.
yeah,
isn't
you
it?
were buying at $150 at the top. So you've nearly lost 50%, sorry, of your investment. So that's actually a low for the 52 weeks and a high. No, sorry, 52-week high, 156. 52-week low, 75.80. Wow.
So it's at the lower end of their trading range.
Yeah, it's really starting
86.
to come back down.
Would you say, Stockman, that is potentially is that a buy, a hold, or a sell? Do you see that on discount?
Well, I don't know much about Xero, to be honest, but I like looking at a graph and looking at how they were going prior to the GFC and stuff. And if I just remove that bubbly type area, oh, sorry, not the GFC, the pandemic, if I take that out, I would suspect that over time they may come back towards the mean of continuing to increase again as business becomes normal. But you would think that this is a company that can continue to grow and continue to capture data and sell that data for their own good.
Gazillions. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe a buy from me. put in the back pocket.
And if you're never too sure if it's a margin call, Heartland Bank that you go to, isn't it?
They will lend you the cash to get you out of a hole.
Yeah, hashtag not sponsored.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They've been going poorly too. But anyway, sorry, back on track to the Australians. Your GST, you got to factor that in as well.
Yeah, so with tax, it's important to be mindful of what tax we're talking about. So income tax and GST. GST is triggered irrespective of how you structure in your trading, whether it's a business, a company here in New Zealand, whether it's a separate company that you're using to trade through, whatever it is, as soon as you're over that threshold, you're cooked.
So I might not have income tax in Australia, but I could have GST.
100%.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So really need to be thinking about this stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then normally with clients, they're like, oh, I'll just dip my toe into Australia. It's like, we'll go over there and do some business and see what happens, get a few runs on the board, and you go, yep, we can scale this. And it's like, right, okay, shall we set up a separate entity? What's some of the other issues? That's a yes or no. In most cases, yes, set up a separate entity to handle your offshore trading. Makes some of the compliance a little bit of admin stuff a little bit easier overall. Plus helps manage a little bit of risk as well.
Wow.
And hey, look, from a self-interest point of view, more accounting fees.
Love that.
Can't deny that.
Yeah.
But it's at the compliance end, and that's just because you have to. Separate entity, you're going to need to register with the ATO and sort out
ABN.
and there's another one.
Don't know.
Yeah, no, nor do I. There's is it ASIC registration? There's some kind of foreign registration because you're a New Zealand company trading in Australia.
Yep.
Small hack for other young players: when you're setting up a New Zealand company that's going to be trading in Australia, add PTY to the name. So you've got ABC. You've got
Seal the Deal.
Yeah, you've got Seal the Deal Limited here in New Zealand on the
Yeah.
Company's office, and you're like, right, I'm expanding my Seal dealership to Australia, so you're going to set up Seal the Deal Australia Limited, but then next advisory come along and say, look, you should set up Seal the Deal Australia Pty Limited. So when you're sending your documents in Australia, the Aussies will look at it and go, Pty Limited, this is an Australian company, we'll back Australian business.
Smart. So that's actually a New Zealand company.
New Zealand company, but those Aussies wouldn't bloody notice because it's got the Pty in it.
So I've put a swift one over the Aussies.
Yeah.
Taking a shrimp off their barbie. They don't even know.
No.
How good.
Yeah.
PTY, because that's what they do over there with
their companies have got the PTY in it, and it's like, well, that's what they do. Don't know private, I think it means.
Yeah.
But you stick the PTY and the company name over here. It's a New Zealand company. It makes it look like Australian. You've just taken their shrimp and you're about to have a bite on their sausage.
Outstanding. Proprietary is the PTY.
Proprietary.
Yeah, which is a form of privately held company in Australia and also South Africa. There's either limited or unlimited.
So it gives it a Australian feel.
Twang.
Flavour, twang.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they like doing business with themselves. So you're going in there with a bit of camo. So it leads to some advantages. Play to those strengths, folks. And little will they know, you'll go in there, you'll conquer the Australian market with your seals, and then they'll wake up and go, oh, Struth, this is a New Zealand company. We've been...
Lukey, mate, come around for a schooner or six? And I fucking can't, mate. I'm in Auckland. Got you, didn't I? Yeah, I was just going to throw the barbie on, mate. Yeah.
Gee, there's some great Australian gags in this one. Yeah. What else? Oh, yeah, so then you register this PTY company, ATO, pay your GST, and then depending on whether it's operated remotely or not, you might have some income tax to do.
Okay.
But at very high level, there's a lot more in the background to actually get around the double tax piece.
Yeah.
But the thing I would suggest you do is ask for help.
Yeah, because you could have other complicating factors in the background, whether you're trading through a trust, a partnership, or you might be thinking about moving, or your wife's actually a bloody Australian and you're actually spending 2/3 of the year over there, but you call New Zealand home, and all those different types of things, they can impact it, right?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Hey, you go.
I was just going to say, fully encourage New Zealand businesses, entrepreneurs to go over and have a dabble. Give it a try.
Bigger market, right?
Bloody oath. We got off the phone, a video call this morning with a client that is expanding to Australia, and I asked them what they forecast their sales to be next year in Australia, and I was like, wow. And their whole thing was, much bigger market, more eyeballs, and it'll be easy.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Sexy. The UN tells me from their data that they've got 26 million Australians.
I think 26 million Australians.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's about 5 million New Zealanders. So there's a lot more Australians.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So you could just about quadruple.
That's 5 times as many, isn't it?
Yes.
5 into 25 plus 5 times.
Strip out some of the non-buyers. But yeah, you probably got an audience there of 20 million people you could potentially be selling to.
So if we work on just straight multiples of just like, hey, 5 million people in New Zealand and you're making turning over $1 million, wouldn't it be unreasonable to go to Australia and turn over 5?
Yeah. Yep.
Convert that back to New Zealand dollars and it becomes 10 because our currency's shit.
By the time you've done $1 million worth of turnover in New Zealand, you usually got a fairly good indicator that you've got something that the market wants. You've solved the problem, or you've added a shitload of value.
Well, mate, remind the listeners again, as a percentage of all businesses operating in New Zealand, how many turn over more than $1 million?
Around about 15%. Phil?
Just another staggering statistic from Statman Luke Kemes, who's also in the steel business, would you believe?
Yes. One thing I learned about stats this week.
Yes.
And I actually learned this from a property podcast, I have to disclose.
Wow.
Yes.
You're right.
I think so. I'm not sure though. After listening to it, there could be something wrong with me. I'm not sure.
Commercial property?
No. There was a hack on there. Someone sent it to me. Yeah. Thanks, Pete. But I keep listening to it, and you can go to the Statistics New Zealand website.
Yes.
And if you're trying to find a stat, you can use their live chat function and say, hey,
no way,
how many blah, blah, blah. And usually within 24 hours, apparently, they'll come back to you with the answer and the data to back it up.
No way.
So you almost got like a virtual assistant working for Statistics New Zealand.
So you're going to add that shortcut to your phone, and then when you're sitting down with your phone...
in the sauna.
Yep.
Thinking about random things. How many seals are in New Zealand?
You're just going to go to, hey, my stats VA, I need some stats on seals.
Yeah.
Stat.
Yeah. I got excited when I heard that.
I bet you did.
And that's the kind of thing that gets me excited, Phil, which is probably not what gets most excited, but it is what it is.
It is.
And if it's on, it's on.
It's great that Taz accepts you for who you are.
Yeah, I haven't told her about that yet, but she asked me what I was doing this week, and I said I'll probably go out night clubbing and hang out with the fellas and all that, but I'll probably actually come here and message Statistics New Zealand and a heap of questions.
Yes.
And then roll home and pretend I'm drunk. Yeah.
Live chat, 24-hour response, all the stats you want.
Yeah. Good use of New Zealand taxpayer funding, but hey,
Hey, it's what the government department's there for.
Yeah, let's use it to your advantage. So if you need any stats or you need any data pulled out, jump on and tell them that Next Advisory is seeing you. Just any question. Maybe I'll put that. Yeah. Hey, on to some practical things, mate, in terms of being as trading into Australia. One of the things that you always mention to clients to think about is to get out of your New Zealand mindset and your New Zealand thinking and go, remember not to price your shit in New Zealand dollars, to price it in Australian dollars as an example, and to be very careful about what your packaging and your freight costs are going to be, because then they might chew up your margin.
Australia is a completely different, you're quite right, Australia is a completely different market. They think a little bit differently over there. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. You just got to understand the way their market thinks and adapt, test, try, as per usual, all the things that we suggest. But yeah, pricing is spot on. Do it all in Australian dollars. It's a great way to get through a price increase, make more money.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Use the currency in which the country you are selling into. You might have to look into too what the solutions are that the people are using in terms of credit. It might not be the same things that we have in terms of afterpay and things like that. You want to find out what's the most popular and most used. Wonder if you're going to offer those types of solutions on your website, and actually do some research into businesses that are doing well over there and figure out what are they doing that's obviously working that you could potentially replicate or implement into your business.
Yeah, and as I've said at the top of the pod, it's very normal and natural for the first place that New Zealand businesses expand to is Australia, and then once you've clocked Australia, look out the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually where we holiday first as Kiwis, right?
Yep.
So there's a good point there. We often challenge clients, okay, why Australia? Why not UK? Why not US? And talking to Simon from Magnitude Group the other day, he was saying about the route that you can potentially take. So the UK, Canada, America, and just thinking differently and some of the data that they had on what actually works. So maybe reach out if you're going to scale or want to scale big to somebody that's done it and go, hey,
How have you done it?
Yeah, would you do it differently?
What are the tips?
What markets have you tested and why? And see what you can learn.
If you could do it again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, otherwise you're just going to replicate prior years in your life where your first trip was to Australia, where you went on the rides at Dreamworld and you got such a buzz when you had a kilo of candy floss and you think, shit, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it again and again and again and again. And eventually you spew up on yourself.
Happens.
Yeah. Australia, well, some good tech stuff today, mate.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Just trying to help the folks, eh?
Yeah.
You know, the last thing that you want is a knock on your door from the ATO.
Yeah, that would suck.
The thing to appreciate is New Zealand and Australia have what's referred to as a double tax agreement, DTA, and at the same time, the ATO and the New Zealand IRD, funnily enough, do talk to each other and they share information.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is come up on their little radar, bing, bing, and you get a please explain letter.
I guess it's a good point to make, to be mindful too, if you're not just selling into Australia, but you're maybe doing e-commerce to other countries around the world, then you need to be mindful of what your implications are for GST and income tax in those countries too.
Yeah, yeah. Always don't be afraid to ask, and you know, yeah, the price of advice might be like, oh, gee, but it's going to be a darn sight cheaper than the tax and the penalties.
Yeah.
And fixing it because you would have fucked up the structure to begin with.
There's people who would have done it before you, and there's people who study their whole lives to give advice around this stuff. So lean on them, and you can continue to sell your seals, your recyclable organic shrimps, whatever it is that you're into. We're not here to judge.
No.
You're there to make $1, and we're cool with that. Oi, oi, oi. Is that it?
Yeah, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, I believe. And to hear us out, a bit more of Waltzing Matilda. But hey, look, if you're looking at getting into Australia, get in touch. Happy to help.